Hey guys, welcome to Chapter 1, Lesson 4. Today we're going to be talking about rounding to the nearest 10. Now, rounding is kind of a tricky thing, so make sure you're really listening carefully to this video, as you do with all of them, I'm sure. So let's read the next part. It says, when you round, you change the value of a number to one that is easier to work with. Okay, so the point of rounding is we really want to get numbers that we can use in our head. So it would be kind of like if we went to the grocery store and we don't maybe want to get out our calculator and add every single item up that we're trying to buy. We might round the numbers so we can get an estimate or a close number to how much it's going to cost. So let's learn about rounding. So here's our first example. There are 32 people in line ahead of Cassandra to buy popcorn. Now this about tells us we're going to be rounding or estimating or something. We're not going to be using exact numbers, okay? About how many people is that? Round it to the nearest 10. Okay, so whenever it says round to the nearest 10, sometimes we do round to the nearest 100, round to the nearest 1,000. That means counting by tens. So if I count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, like if I were thinking about it on a number line. And then I put 32 where it belonged, that's about 32. I'm asking which 10 is it closest to? Is it closest to 30 or is it closest to 40? Well, if we visualize it this way, we can easily see, hey, that's 30. But we don't always want to draw out a number line, right? We can't draw out number lines if we're at the grocery store. So let's look at kind of a little trick we can use. So it says to circle the digit to be rounded. So we want to circle the digit in the tens place. Circle it. Look at the digit to its right. So we're going to look at 2. If the digit is less than 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 0, really, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, do not change the circled digit. Is it less than 5? It is, yeah. So the circle digit's going to stay 3. Replace all the digits after the circled number digit with zeros. So we're going to put a 0 here. Do I need to put a 0 in the hundreds? No, I don't need to change that one. That one's just going to stay the same. But I need to put all the ones after the circled number with 0. Circled digit with zeros. So another way is use a number line that I did right here, right? We can see that 32 is much closer to 30 than 40, right? That's kind of a little exaggerated here. Let's do that. But you can see it's much closer. So we would round it to 30. 32 is closer to 30 than 40. Either method you use, the answer is the same. Cassandra has about 30 people in front of her. Example 2, Sonia sent 165 text messages on her family's cell phone. About how many messages did Sonia send? So I'm hoping when I underline things and circle things that you do it in your notebook too. So do the same things that I'm doing, okay? If you need to pause the video because it's a very important strategy when you're reading word problems. Use a place value chart to round 165 to the nearest 10, okay? So we need to circle the number that's in the tens place. Then we're going to look at the digit to the right. If the digit is 5 or greater, we're going to add 1 to the circled digit. So it's 5, so that means I need to add 1 to the circled digit, so it's going to become a 70. Notice the numbers before the circled digit, they don't change. They're going to stay there. The circle digit's going to go up 1, and then the numbers after the circle digit, they become zeros. So I'm going to be rounding it to 170 text messages. All right, let's keep practicing. Round to the nearest 10. Okay, so I'm going to circle the number digit in the tens place. Look to the right. I have an 8. And the trick is 5 or more. I'm going to add 1. 4 or less. I'm going to keep it the same. This is our circled number. I'm going to write a circle. It's not a 0. That's our circled number. If it's 5 or more, we round up. 4 or less, we round down, which keeps the number the same. Okay, so 8 is 5 or more. That means I need to add 1 to my circled number, circled digit. And so it's going to become 60 is what 58 is closest to. 60. Now it should be a 10. So if you say, oh, it should round to 59. If I'm counting by tens, do I land on 59? No. So whenever you're checking, you can always say, okay, is it a 10? If I count by tens, do I hit 60? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Yes, I do. Okay, so we know it's a 10. Okay, round to the nearest 10. So I'm going to circle the number digit in the tens place and look at the 5. 5 or more, add 1. So I'm going to add 1 to my circled number. So this is going to round to 90 because all the digits after become a 0. Circle the digit in the tens place. Look at the digit to the right is a 2. That means it stays the same. So we're going to round down to 70. Okay, what should you do to round a number that ends in 5? We should add 1 to the circled digit, right? Because it's exactly halfway, right? If I'm looking at a number line and I have 60 and I have 70 and I say, well, where should I round? Number exactly in the middle, 65. We had to pick, okay? It's kind of a toss-up. So someone picked, hey, if it's exactly in the middle, you're going to go up. All right, now this is the section of the video where you can stop if you think you've got it. If you'd like a few more examples, I'm going to keep going. Okay, our directions say round to the nearest 10. So remember, I have my number 392. I'm just going to write up here because it's kind of hard for me to circle. Okay, so I'm going to circle the tens place. I'm going to look at the number to the right, a 2. 2 or less says keep the circled number the same. So we're going to round 392 to 309 and then a 0. 390 because that's a 10, right? So number 2, circle the 2. Look at the number to the left, to the right, sorry. That's a 6. It is 5 or more, so that means I need to add 1 to my circled digit. So it's going to become a 3. 1 stays the same, this one. And then my 6 becomes 0, 130. Use the number line to round to the nearest 10. So if I have 753, that's right here. If I circle the tens and look at the 3, I know I'm going to go down to 750. Down to 750. Right? And if I look at the number line, I notice it's closer to 752. What about 758? If I use my strategy of circling the 5 and looking at the 8, it is 5 or more, so I need to add 1 to get 760. Let's see if it fits on our number line too. 758, is it closer to 750 way down here or 760? 760, so check, that works out. Here, 756. Okay, so the 6 is 5 or more, so I'm going to add 1 and round to 760. 760, sorry, I shouldn't say it, 760. 760, so if I look at 756, that one rounded up, and so is this one. It's closer than going all the way down here to 750. Okay, let's do some more problems. Use the number line to round to the nearest 10. 302. So we can see much closer to 300. Now some people say, well, 300 is not a 2, not a 10, I mean. It's 100. Well, yes, but when you're counting by tens, don't you stop on the hundreds too? We do, right? So a number can be both 100 and a 10. Or even if you're in the thousands place, it could be 1,000, 100, or a 10 too. So let's see, 304. Rounding to the tens place, look at that 4. It's telling us to keep the 0 the same, which means we're going to be 300. It's also closer to 300 than 310, right? Now 305, this is the tricky one. It's right in the middle. And some genius mathematician said, hey, if it's going to be in the middle, you better round up. So So we're going to round up to 310. So again, if I circled that and I'm looking at my 5, it tells me to add 1. So I get 300, and then my 5 becomes 0, 310. So here, round to the nearest 10. Got a 2, I'm looking at that 9, it's going to tell me to add 1 to my circled number. Bring down my 4, that doesn't change, but everything after it becomes a 0. 430. Circle the 10, look at the 1, 4 or less, which means the 9's going to stay the same. The 1, everything after the 9 becomes 0, everything before stays the same. So we're rounding to 190. 198, look at that 8, tells us to add 1 to the circled number. Wait a minute, I can't go from 90, I can't, this wouldn't make sense, right? If I bring down my 1, my 9 plus 1 becomes a 10, and my 8 goes there. Or sorry, no, my 8 would become a 0. That's not, erase that 8. Go away, 8. 1,100? No way. That's not what we do. No, 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 no. Okay, let's watch again. 198. Add 1. Okay, I know it's going to become a 10. So if I do that, like normal adding, I would regroup and put it up there. So now I'm doing 1 plus 1 is 2. 9, that was a 0 because 9 plus 1 is 10. And then my 8 becomes a 0. So it is actually 200. Oh, that's so tricky. So, so tricky. All right, we've got a couple more pages of examples here. Kayla's dog weighs 112 pounds. Garrett's dog weighs 15 pounds more than Kayla's. About how much does Garrett's dog weigh to the nearest 10 pounds? So let's take 112 plus 15, 7, 2, 127 is exactly. But if we said about how much to the nearest 10 pounds, let's circle. Look at that 7. That 7 is 5 or more, so we need to add 1. 3, bring down the 1, and the 7 becomes a 0. So we would say about, now that about word tells us we're estimating or rounding, about 130 pounds. And look at our beautiful work there to prove that we know what we're talking about. For each sentence, write one of the following on the line. To blank a number, you change its value to a number that is easier to work with. To round. Okay, rounded to the nearest 10. That's our only other option. Nearest 10, so let's make sure it makes sense. Rounded to the nearest 10, 167 becomes 170. Yeah, that works out, doesn't it? Because that 7 is going to add 1 to the 6 to make 170. Faith has 132 songs in her music library. She buys 11 more songs. About how many songs is that? Rounded to the nearest 10. Okay, so if I take 132 plus 11, I get 143. So if I plot that on here, rounded to the nearest 10, that's about 140 songs. Right, because that's much farther to go to 150 than it is to 140. So it's closer. 140 is easier to work with. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Make sure you let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you later.